The Spirit in the Body by Robert Crosbie. Letter 28. Your letter received. True, it is hard for those who think in other ways to have to exist in a world and at a time when the generally worshipped God is so hard, unfeeling and merciless in his requirements. Yet such is our karma, and the karma of the race we desire to help. We cannot help without sharing the karma, and in sharing we have to do it in all ways. These things are part of our trials. We can but recognize that even heavenly death is provided for, and if so, why not life, even as we know it? We would know that law reigns for all, and for each and every circumstance, were it not for our doubts and fears. It is natural that fears should arise, for all terrestrial things tend to create them, yet we know from those who know that the man who coweth the Supreme Spirit, who is not deluded, and who is fixed on him, doth not rejoice at obtaining what is pleasant, nor grieve when meeting what is unpleasant. Be free from the pairs of opposites and constant in the quality of sattva, free from worldly anxiety and desire to preserve present possessions. All this is like sending coals to Newcastle, yet sometimes a reiteration helps one free himself, and 2, your letter shows that you see clearly what is right, so absolutely clear and sound that I fear some difficulty more than ordinary must present itself to you. Yet for every difficulty there is a way, even if it is not the way we see as the preferable one. And we have to overcome all sorts of difficulties. I can understand right well the many things you have in mind to be provided for. In all things there is but one thing to be done, and that is, the best we can. Then await the event, meet one thing at a time, and as it comes. Thus we avoid attachment to results, and interject no interference with the law which works for good to those who love it. We so desire personal assurance that all will be well with the personal self that we distrust ourselves and all others, if we do not get it, and all the time we know that we should rely upon the law that works for righteousness. What, then, is needed is a greater faith and confidence, a stronger courage. I had a little stone once, upon which was engraved, "Even this will pass away." It served many a time to remind me of the transitory nature of all trials and troubles. The motto is a good one and may serve many others, if used when need arises. In all the above, it is not meant that proper care should be neglected, but that fear and doubt should be dismissed. Fear is the same thing as frigidity on the earth, and always proceeds by the process of freezing. Who can say in how many ways that freezing prevents what would otherwise be? To one confronted by hard facts, philosophy seems inadequate, especially when one has to meet the fact, and when the philosophy is quoted by another. Yet it is this very application that has to be made in every circumstance. No great effort is necessary to apply philosophy when the stress is slight, but when the stress is great, greater effort is needed. The main thing is to apply the philosophy, and in fact rely on it. All sorts of unforeseen obstacles will arise to test that reliance, in order that we may be confirmed, and ourselves rendered constitutionally incapable of diverging from the true path. We do not encompass the 6 glorious virtues all at once, nor one at a time, but make progress in all of them. Obstacles will arise in the circumstances of everyday life and in our relations to each other. I have found it helpful to go back to the time when full confidence abounded, if obstacles pressed hard and insistently. It often appears to us that obstacles that meet us need not be, that they have no relation to the great task we have set before ourselves, yet due consideration of what we have learned must show that nothing can possibly occur which is out of that relation. We often say to ourselves, if this thing were only different, or proceeded or occurred in this other way, it would be better, failing to perceive that if it were different, it would be different. The key to conduct, then, seems to be, taking things as they come, and dealing with them singly day to day. We find this hard, yet the hardness will continue in degree as we become confirmed, until all is easy. The harder the effort, the greater the strength acquired. I used to look calmly and dispassionately at the very worst picture I could conjure up as happening to myself, and found it helpful in getting rid of fear of consequences. I mentally took account of the very worst, saw myself in it with all that it entailed, went through it in all its parts, leaving myself alone, dishonored, stripped of everything. Those very things have happened to me, but I knew them, had outlived them, and went on undismayed. Had I not done it, I would not be where I am today. But you know all this, and it may seem like cold comfort. I would that I could give you more. Look back at the chain of circumstances since first we met, and realize more fully that there is a destiny that shapes our ends, rough hew them as we may. Can we question Master's hand in everything done in His name? The circumstances may not smile at us, but it is not their favor that is sought. We ought to know by this time that seeming evil is very often, we might say, always, turned to good. For it is that great initiate of all, who keeps this whole movement in being. May you have all power, health, and courage externally, internally and eternally. Good night to you.